Hare Krishna, welcome to all devotees. Today, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2nd, Chapter 10, and we try to understand Shloka Kramanka 24 and 25. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions, and in these shlokas, we try to understand touch, action, and the illusion of independence, understanding the Lord as the controller of all senses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं
नारायणं
नमस्कृत्यं
नमस्कृत्य
नरं
नरं
चैव
चैव
नरोत्तमं
नरोत्तमं
देवीं
देवीं
सरस्वतीं व्यासं
सरस्वतीं
ततः
व्यासं
जयमुदीरये।
ततो
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु
नित्यं
भद्रेषु
भागवत
नित्यं
सेवया
भगवते
भगवती उत्तम
भगवती
श्लोके
उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति
भक्तिः भवति
नैष्टिकी।
नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा। श्लोक क्रमांक 24 and 25.
Mataji, 23 and 24. 23 is remaining.
Sorry, 23 and 24. वस्तुना मृदु काठिन्य
वस्तुनः मृदु काठिन्य
लघु गुरु उष्णशीतताम
लघु गुरुष्ण शीतताम्।
जिगृ जिगृक्षतः त्वत् निर्भिन्ना
जिगृक्षतः त्वान्निर्भिन्न
तस्यां रोममहीरुहाः
तस्यां रोममहीरुहाः।
तत्र च अन्तः बहिः वा
तत्र च अन्तः बहिः वा
त्वचा
वातः त्वचा
लब्धगुणः वृतः
वातः त्वचा लब्धगुणः व्रतः।
वातः सॉरी वस्तुनः मृदु काठिन्य नहीं हो गया हस्तरुः तस्य नाना कर्म चिकीर्षा
हस्तौरुहतुः तस्य नानाकर्म चिकीर्षया।
तयोः तु बलवान इन्द्र आदानम् उभय आश्रयम्
तयोः तु बलवान् इन्द्रः आदानम् उभयाश्रयम्।
वस्तुना मृदु काठिन्य लघु गुरु उष्ण शीतताम्
वस्तुनः मृदुकाठिन्य लघु गुरुष्ण शीतताम्।
जिगृक्षतः त्वक् निर्भिन्ना तस्यां रोम महिर्वहाः
जिगृक्षतः त्वं निर्भिन्न जिगृक्षतः त्वक निर्भिन्न तस्यां रोममहीरुहा।
तत्र च अन्तः बहिः वातः त्वचा लब्धगुणावृतः
तत्र च अन्तः बहिः वातः त्वचा लब्धगुणव्रत।
हस्तोरुरुहतुः तस्य नाना कर्म चिकीर्षया
हस्तौरुरुहतुः तस्य नानाकर्म चिकीर्षया।
तयोः तु बलवान इन्द्र आदानम् उभय आश्रयम्
तयोः तु बलवान् इन्द्र आदानम् उभयाश्रयम्।
वस्तुनः मृदु काठिन्य लघु गुरु उष्ण शीतताम् जिगृक्षता त्वक् निर्भिन्ना तस्यां रोममहीरुहाः तत्र च अन्तः बहिः वातः त्वचा लब्धगुणावृतः हस्तौरुरुहतुः तस्य नाना कर्म चिकीर्षया तयोः तु बलवान इन्द्र आदानम् उभय आश्रयम्
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण
वस्तुना मृदु काठिन्य लघु गुरुष्ण शीतताम् जिगृक्षतु त्वक् निर्भिन्ना तस्यां रोममहीरुहा। तत्र चान्त बहिवात त्वचालब्ध गुणो वृतः हस्तौरुरुः तस्तुः तस्य नानाकर्म चिकीर्षया तयोः तु बलवान् इन्द्रः आदानम् उभयाश्रयम्.
Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When there was a desire to pursue the physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, hardness, warmth, cold, lightness, and heaviness. The background of sensation, the skin pores, the hairs on the body, and their controlling deities, the trees were generated. Within and outside the skin is a covering of air through which sense perception became prominent. Thereafter, when the Supreme Person desired to perform varieties of work, the two hands and their controlling strength, and Indra, the demigod in heaven, became manifested as also the acts dependent on both the hands and the demigods. Om purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, are subject of sense perception, and this physical knowledge is the subject matter of the touch sensation. One can measure the temperature of matter by touching with the hand, and one can measure the weight of an object by lifting it with the hand, and thus estimate its heaviness or lightness. The skin pores, and the hairs on the body are all interdependent with the touch sensation. The air blowing within and outside the skin is also an object of sense perception. This sense perception is also a source of knowledge, and therefore it is suggested here that physical and physiological knowledge is subordinate to the knowledge of the self, as above mentioned. Knowledge of self can expand to the knowledge of phenomena, but physical knowledge cannot lead to knowledge of the self. There is, however, an intimate relation between the hairs on the body and the vegetation on the body of the earth. The vegetables are nourishment for the skin both as food and medicine. As stated in the third canto, Tvacham asya innam vivishuhu jishnam oshadihi. In every item, we can note with profit that the sense organs of the living entities are never independent at any stage. The Lord is known as the Lord of the senses, Rishikesh. Thus, the sense organs of the living entities are manifested by the will of the Lord, and each organ is controlled by a certain type of demigod. No one therefore can claim any proprietorship of the senses. The living entities controlled by the senses. The senses are controlled by the demigods, and the demigods are the servants of the Supreme Lord. That is the arrangement in the system of creation. The whole thing is controlled ultimately by the Supreme Lord, and there is no independence either of the material nature or of the living entity. The illusion living entity who claims to be the Lord of his senses is under the clutches of the external energy of the Lord. As long as a living entity continues to be puffed up by his tiny existence, he is to be understood to be under the stringent control of the external energy of the Lord. And there is no question of liberation from the clutches of illusion, Maya. However much one may declare himself a liberated soul. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vande Am Sri Guroho Sri Yuttapadakamala Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देश तारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा। Today we continue Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2nd, Chapter 10. Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions and try to understand Shloka Kramanka 23 and 24. Here they're describing about the uh, all um, senses, how they manifested and what is their existence. Living entity continues to pop up by his tiny existence and is to be understood to be under the stringent control of the external energy of the Lord. And there is no question of liberation from the clutches of illusion, if much one may declare himself as a liberated soul. Here they're describing about the importance of the arrangement of the system of creation. Prabhuji will tell it nicely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hopefully, I am loud and clear today. So, as
Yes,
Mataji has
Prabhuji.
said, as
yes, yes,
Mataji has
yes.
said, what is being talked about is, though the topic is starting with touch, action, what is most important is illusion of independence and understanding the Lord as the controller of all senses. So Shukdev Goswami is describing how Supreme Lord, the Virat Purush, manifests the sense of touch and ability to perform work through his desire alone. Again, desire alone. So two foundational principles again here. One, sensory experiences are produced, controlled by the Lord, and secondly, living entity is never independent, though falsely he believes so. So by studying even how our basic bodily functions arise, Bhagavatam gradually is taking us from physical knowledge to spiritual knowledge, outward view of creation to the inner reality of soul. So after having seen how the eyes, the smell, the hearing, they have developed, what is being talked about now is the origin of touch and physical sensation. Now, it's Krishna again who desired to pursue physical characteristics. And which physical characteristics? It is mentioned softness, hardness, warmth, cold, heaviness, lightness. So, skins, pores, hairs, and controlling deities may manifest them. So, Krishna wanted softness, hardness, warmth, cold, heaviness, lightness. So, for these three and its reverses, what has arisen is skin, pores, hairs, and controlling deities, which is trees. And the air within and outside the skin made touch perception possible. So I was hearing one of the lectures of Maharaj, and he was saying that touch is a doorway to knowledge. So Bhagavatam explains that physical sensations, softness, weight, and temperature, they are all subjects of touch. So touch is not a bodily function, it is a form of knowledge acquisition. Like we measure temperature by touching the objects. Can we simply see someone and say, okay, this is his temperature? No. Touch. We estimate the heaviness of something by lifting something, right? So can I sit here and say, oh, maybe this is 1 kg of rice? I can make assumption, but the actual estimation only when I can lift it. And thirdly, what does these two work upon? They are working upon is the pores, the skin, and the hairs, and all three cooperate to produce these cells. So, like in medical science, we talk about somatosensory system. So, this somatosensory knowledge, which Bhagavatam is talking about, somatosensory knowledge means touch-based perception. It becomes a foundation for scientific understanding. And then the Bhagavatam gives the profound point that this physical or physiological knowledge is always subordinate to the knowledge of the self. Because physical knowledge cannot lead to self-realization. Self-knowledge, it can expand into full understanding of all phenomenon, including the material world. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Now, when this shloka is talking about pores, skin, and hairs, and that they have to work together in coordination. Now, this is a very important aspect. For example, when a part of the skin gets burned, and then there are no hairs there, so you will see that even the other sensory perceptions they get affected. Or when the skin is not there, though there are pores and the hair, still that part cannot function appropriately. So this coordination amongst all aspects is something which is so nicely engineered by Krishna. And that is where we need to understand the relationship between this body and nature as well. The unique point which is highlighted in the commentary, the purport, is the connection between hairs on the human body and the vegetation on the earth. Now, if you all remember, we have already studied this topic previously when we were seeing the description of Virat Purusha. So there we have seen that the trees and the herbs on the earth, they represent the hairs on the body of Virat Purush. So hair serves protective function for the body, right? Vegetation nourishes and protects the body of the earth. The moment there is no hesitation, what happens? It is desert. So vegetables and herbs nourish human skin as food and as medicine. So complete coordination. So we can talk about the modern examples as well. Dandelion. So it's a useful edible and medicinal plant. Or Barbaria varna, which is also called as land cress. Or chlorophyll. It's a strong natural healing substance. So Bhagavatam's description of interconnectedness between human physiology and earth's vegetation is not only spiritual, it is also now proven scientifically. And same is the concept with touch and human relations. Haptics is the study of touch, and nonverbal communication is always through touch. And kinetics is body language, movement, facial expression. Like the babies, they bond with the parents primarily through touch. So this reflects the deeper truth that everything, including human relationships, begins from Krishna, the supreme source. And when we see the interconnectedness of creation, we understand that interconnectedness is more important than what the limited senses can see. And this is the vision of Bhagavatam. So material education is absolutely, what I'll say, just few percentage of the reality which spiritual education gives us. The modern education only gives piecemeal incomplete knowledge, and it fails to provide fulfillment, it fails to provide love, it fails to provide sustained happiness. Whereas spiritual education covers everything in scope, leads to immortality and love, and it provides complete understanding of the world. The Bhagavatam is detailed, comprehensive account of creation, superior to modern articles that note isolated observations like how the brain activates in the last 30 seconds before death. One of the studies, just useless. Scripture gives the full picture. It does not give small fragments. Another aspect is, from practical insights perspective, nutrition, health, and touch perception. Modern homes contain many carcinogenic chemicals. Pesticides like Roundup are human carcinogens. Highly processed foods like morning cereals that we talk about, they damage health. And overeating happens because nutrient depleted food leaves us hungry. So real intelligence therefore is that eat your medicine every day. And what is that medicine? Vegetables. So the Lord's creation of touch, vegetation, air, sensation is all part of a grand, intelligent design meant for our healing and balance. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then immediately Shukdev Goswami talks about hands, action, the illusion of control. Like when the Lord desired to perform work, the two hands appeared along with their strength and controlling deity intra. So no one can claim ownership of the senses. As mentioned in the purport, the senses of the living entity are never independent. No one can claim proprietorship over the senses. So what is the hierarchy of control? Living entity controlled by the senses, senses controlled by the demigods, demigods servant of the Supreme Lord. So everything, including our ability to act, is dependent upon Krishna, Rishikesh, the Lord of the senses. But still we live in the illusion of independence. If a person thinks I am the controller, he is under Maya. Yogis, Jnanis, scientists, they are all motivated by desires. Like mystic yogis desire siddhis, Jnanis desire knowledge, and geniuses like Einstein remain incomplete without association of pure devotees. So as long as material desire remains, one is not independent. So what is this human free will? Like animals have no real free will, but humans have a unique freedom to accept Krishna or reject him. Because love must be voluntary. If we reject Krishna, we come under control of material nature. And if we accept Krishna, we come under his protection. So laws of nature and duties of civilized life is what we need to be very clear about. To return to Godhead, we must learn what not to do, what to do, who is a civilized human being, and what spiritual life means. And that is why Bhagavad Gita, some verses explain this very clearly. Like Maharaj was talking about the 17th verse from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where it is mentioned very clearly about it. It says there that yuktahara viharasya yukta chaishtasya karmasu yukta swapna bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. That regulation in eating, sleeping, recreation, work is very, very essential. Krishna has said this, that he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. And which yoga system? That towards the end Krishna mentions it is Bhakti Yoga system. So it is not for normal yogis only that Krishna is talking. So indirectly what is told is that we should start regulating it. And there's one more connection shloka in the 5th chapter 18th verse where Krishna again talks about it. Vidya vinay sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaiva swapake cha panditaha samadarshina. What is he saying here? That a wise person sees all beings with equal vision. A learned Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So what we need to do is we have to get that vision. And who is a learned person? One who is self-realized, who understand what is his original position, the original position of being servant of Krishna. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said our aspiration is to be servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. In 20th shloka in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, न प्रहरश्येत् प्रियं प्राप्य न उद्विजेत प्राप्य च प्रियं स्थिरः बुद्धिसमुड्डः ब्रह्मवित् ब्रह्मणि स्थितः. A self-realized person does not rejoice at gain, does not lament at loss, is self-intelligent and steady, and understands his position as part and parcel of Krishna. So this is Krishna consciousness. And then there's also 22nd shloka where it is mentioned material pleasures have beginning and end. Wise persons avoid them. Ramante yogina anante. Real joy is in the soul. So indirectly, what is being told is that material desires entangle and spiritual desires liberate. Material desires insatiable lead to anger, suffering, and every living being has mixed karma, pleasure and pain, so you don't need to struggle for temporary pleasure. If you please Krishna, every other positive goal will naturally be attained. So secret of peace is that knowing Krishna is supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, best friend, and it is him who brings peace. False attachments bring anxiety because they are based on sense gratification. Purpose of family life should be to teach that the goal of life is Krishna consciousness, to live simply, to earn honestly, to use everything temporary asat in the service of the Lord so it does not bind us. So Grahamedi remains entangled. A Grahastha makes spiritual progress. So let us try to understand the eternity of our original self as compared to the temporality. Eternal Sat and temporary Asat. We are related with Krishna as master and servant, as teacher and taught. And this knowledge is impossible under ignorance. Therefore, Lord teaches Bhagavad Gita to enlighten humanity for all time. So, the conclusion is the senses belong to Krishna, not to us. When we use them for his service instead of false independence, life becomes meaningful, healthy, peaceful, and